Tale of Two Cities analogy. Insight leading to concept of two SOC dichotomy. The almost even split between the polar opposite stances regarding attitude towards staff was an obvious one when looking at the column 97 plot. It led to the inquisitive thought, how different are the SOCs in perceived performance by the respondents to this survey? This section presents two hypotheses which were developed prior to actually assessing the responses, then two more which were developed during assessing the responses using this dichotomy as the basis for separating the responses for comparison. The first speculated hypothesis is that management support for hiring unique staff leads to more funding. The second is that the satisfaction with the technology is high in the skilled staff set. Hypothesis 1. Management support equates to more funding. Pre-data analysis hypothesis. The skilled staff group will represent more funding, even adjusting for the size of the organization. Null hypothesis expression of this hypothesis is there is no difference between the funding levels of SOCs in equivalent sized companies if the management supports a skilled workers or unskilled workers strategy. From the plots, figures 2 cities 1 through 2 cities 9, there is no clear delineation of the skilled workers having more budget at any organization size. So the null hypothesis holds as there is no discernible difference between the funding levels of equivalent sized organizations regardless of the skilled workers or unskilled workers strategy. Important to note, this is what this sample set of responses suggests. Investigation in a larger representative sample is warranted. See the figures below, which are derived from columns 95, 97, and 182. The budget in US dollars for an employee count of fewer than 100. There is one response in 750,000 to 1 million US dollars. There is one response in 250,000 to 500,000 US dollars. These are both responses which self-reported that they are in the skilled workers strategy. In the circumstance of 100,000 to 250,000 US dollars, there is one response in the skilled workers strategy. In the less than $100,000, there is one response in the unskilled workers strategy. And in the unknown, there is one response in terms of the budget. This is in the unskilled category. In this grouping, there are no comparison opportunities that allow us to say that this is the same or different. In an employee count of 101 to 1,000, there were two responses in the $1 million to $2 million budget, which were both in the skilled staff category. In the $750,000 to $1 million budget, there was one response in the skilled staff category. In the $250,000 to $500,000 US dollar budget, there was one response in the unskilled staff category. In the less than $100,000 budget, there were four responses in the unskilled category and one response in the skilled category. Again, this was for employee count of 101 to 1,000 employees. Two in the unskilled group and 2 in the skilled group said unknown. In an employee count of the organization of 1,000 to 2,000, there was 1 response in a budget of $1 million to $2 million that self-reported in the unskilled category. In a budget of $500,000 to $750,000, there were 3 responses which self-reported in the skilled category. There was 1 response in the unskilled category of $100,000 to $250,000 budget, and 1 response also in the unskilled category of less than $100,000 budget, and then there were 2 self-reported unskilled category in an unknown budget situation. With an organization employee count of 2,000 to 5,000, 1 response in the skilled category cited $2 million to $4 million budget. 1 response in the $1 million to $2 million budget was also in the skilled category. 1 response in the $500,000 to $750,000 was in the skilled category. 1 response in the $250,000 to $500,000 was in the unskilled category. In the $100,000 to $250,000, 2 cited that they were in the skilled category. 1 cited that it was in the unskilled category and had a budget of less than $100,000. And there were 3 in the skilled category at this size, again, 2,000 to 5,000 employees, which indicated an unknown budget, and 1 in the unskilled category, which indicated an unknown budget. For an employee count of 5,000 to 10,000 people, 1 response in the skilled category said between $2 and $4 million was the budget. There was 1 each response in the unskilled and skilled category for a budget of $750,000 to $1 million. There were 2 responses in the budget of $500,000 to $750,000 in the skilled category. There were 2 responses in the skilled category of the budget of $250,000 to $500,000. There were 4 in the unskilled category of $100,000 to $250,000, and there was 1 in the skilled category of unknown. For an employee count of 10,000 to 15,000, there was 1 each response of unskilled and skilled in the $2 million to $4 million budget. There were 2 responses, both of which cited the unskilled category with a budget of $1 million to $2 million. And at this organization employee size of 10,000 to 15,000 employees, there was 1 skilled response which reported that the budget was unknown. In an employee count of 15,000 to 50,000 employees, there was 1 response in the unskilled category which reported that their budget was between $2 million and $4 million. There was 1 response in the $1 million to $2 million budget range which cited a skilled category. The $250,000 to $500,000 budget range had 1 unskilled response, and unknown in this 15,000 to 50,000 employee size, there was 1 skilled response. There may be some inclination in looking at these charts at the smaller end of the range to say that there's a likelihood that there is some greater budget. However, based on the information that was presented, it is not clear. The employee count of 50,000 to 100,000, there were 2 in the unskilled category, which said unknown, and 1 in the skilled category, which said unknown. And in an employee count of more than 100,000, there was 1 response, which cited a $4 million to $8 million budget, and that response self-reported in the skilled category. Figures 2 cities 1 through 9 depict no obvious distinction in the funding levels of SOCs of equivalent size organizations between the unskilled and skilled management stance on employees in the SOC. Taken in the positive light, the inference is that the management with the skilled worker stance insist on managing value of expenditure.